people talk about war, we consider its cost. This war has lasted longer than most people plan their lives. While some manage to grow up, get educated, grow old, in Gaza the same thing happens again and again. The same districts, the same words, the same temporary escalations. If a war repeats for decades, it's no longer a crisis, it's a model. And every model has a price. Each new cycle of violence looks like an exception, like a malfunction, like a tragic accident. But when the exception becomes the norm, the question changes. Not why did this happen, but why does it continue exactly this way? According to World Bank data, direct economic damage to Gaza from recent major phases of hostilities is measured in tens of billions of dollars. Destroyed housing, demolished electrical networks, water supply, roads, hospitals, schools. These are not abstract figures. This is the foundation of life. But the key point is different. This price does not lead to the end of war. It's simply accounted for, and the cycle starts again. Why? Because what matters is not only how much war costs, but who pays for it. According to UNRWA data, the European Commission, in UN reports, up to 80% of humanitarian aid and Gaza reconstruction costs are covered by external donors. The European Union, the USA, Arab funds, international organizations. This means that the financial consequences of war are largely externalized beyond the conflict. Those who make key decisions rarely pay their full cost. When destruction doesn't lead to bankruptcy, war loses its economic brake. Now let's compare with the alternative. With the price of peace, real final settlement requires not declarations and resolutions, but deep restructuring of the security, governance, and economic system. According to estimates by international analytical centers in UN structures, we're talking about tens of billions of dollars in long-term investments that need to be invested immediately without guarantee of political return. The price of peace is high, uncertain, and requires responsibility here and now. The price of war is lower and stretched over time. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute records sustained growth in security and control spending precisely during periods of managed escalations. This means that budgets are adapted not for ending the conflict, but for its repeatability. The system has learned to live in this mode, and that's precisely why it reproduces it. There's another indicator that's rarely discussed directly. According to UN data, more than half of Gaza's population are children and adolescents. This means that each new cycle of war destroys not only the current economy, but also future human capital. This is a conflict that devours the future in advance. Losses here are not one time. They accumulate year after year. Human losses over recent decades number in the tens of thousands killed. But the most alarming thing is not the figures themselves, but that they've stopped changing strategy. When the death of thousands of people doesn't lead to a revision of decisions, this means that in the decision-making system, these losses are already accounted for as acceptable. This is not a moral assessment. This is a cold systemic fact. Let's add another layer. Media. Each escalation is a spike in attention, views, donations, political capital. A recurring conflict fits perfectly into platform logic. It's familiar, emotional, and doesn't require lengthy explanations. War becomes a sustainable content format. This is not the cause of conflict, but a factor that makes it convenient. There's also a psychological cost. A society living in a mode of constant threat loses its planning horizon. Investments lose meaning. Education ceases to be a social ladder. Survival economy displaces development economy. And this reduces demand for lasting peace. Not because people don't want it, but because they stop believing in it. And here the key point appears. The war in Gaza hasn't spun out of control. It's in exactly the state that the system knows how to service. It's cruel enough to be talked about, but not destructive enough to require radical revision of the world architecture. It doesn't collapse global markets. It doesn't make inaction more expensive than action. For international players, this is a controlled risk. For donors, predictable budgets. For politicians, a chronic but limited crisis. And if you ask why no one breaks this model, the answer will be extremely cold. Breaking is more expensive than servicing. Any final solution requires immediate costs, political responsibility, and abandoning a convenient status quo. Continuing the war allows stretching the price over years and shifting it onto those who have no levers of influence. The war in Gaza is not a malfunction of the international system, it's its reflection. The system knows how to manage conflicts, but doesn't know how to end them if ending threatens the balance of interests. It knows how to count budgets, but doesn't know how to account for the future. It knows how to reduce risks for the strong and increase them for those living inside the conflict. The price of this war is not only destroyed neighborhoods and dead people. The price is that war has become the normal state and peace, an exception requiring explanations. As long as war is cheaper than peace, as long as responsibility can be distributed, as long as reconstruction is paid for by third parties, the conflict will return under new dates and old headlines. The price of war is the moment when the whole world gets used to someone's life becoming a permanent variable in someone else's calculations. And if we want to understand how the modern world really works, we need to learn to see not only flashes of violence, but the systems that make them repeatable. This is the format, the business model of war. And this is not about emotions, but about how decisions are made and who pays for them.